Hello again, here we are. I sent you a video clip introducing myself, and I think you already watched it. This is the second part, and this is my lecture. I'm going to talk about poetry therapy, which is the focus of my research. And this recording is going to be presented in international conference on nature, culture, literature, contemporary perspectives. It is organized by PG and Research Department of English, Manar Tirumalai Naikir College in Madurai. And as you just heard, the conference key terms are nature, culture, and literature. And what I am doing here is that I am using poetry. I'm talking about poetry as the exalted form of literature when it talks about nature and culture. So in one lecture, I'm trying to focus on the three different key terms mentioned in the conference title. Yes, and then what is poetry? Poetry, I mean, like the definitions of poetry by different writers, by different great people, by Plato. Imagine, let's see what Plato says about poetry and how he defines it. Poetry is language at its most distant and most powerful. Poetry is when an emotion has found its thought, and thought has found its words, by Robert Frost. Poetry is thoughts that breathe and words that burn, by Thomas Gray. Poetry is an echo asking a shadow to dance, Carl Sandburg. And here is a very insightful and thought provoking sentence definition by Plato. Poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. It means a lot. It is giving much weight to the function of poetry. I have never started a poem yet whose end I knew. Writing a poem is discovering, by Robert Frost. And now about the functions of poetry. Poetry sparks creative thinking. And creative thinking and different kinds of thinking, I can say that they are the profound, they are very important aspects of life. That's why when we teach life skills in classes and about different types of thinking, like critical thinking and creative thinking, poetry can help us. Poetry can come and serve this critical thinking, this skill that the students and people should learn and should be aware of. The other one is creating self-awareness. When you start writing, you get to know what is happening in your mind. You get to know what kind of thoughts have been occupying your mind. So it is about self-discovery. It's a kind of self-awareness. You get to know yourself through poetry, through writing, or even in reading. And it is also used as a therapy, as a therapeutic approach towards disorders and problems. And the other one is expanding the worldviews. This way, you are creating your own view, or you are rectifying, you're amending, you are altering your worldview, because we have a lot of beliefs, and then some of them need a thorough correction because they don't adjust, they don't match with the present situation. So we need to think over these belief systems we have and these scripts. So this is true poetry. Poetry expands worldviews. And the forms of poetry. Poets choose particular poetic forms in order to suit their content. It can be elegies, it can be odes or free verse, blank verse, lyrical poems. I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote, and it's about nature. So, through poetry, I'm talking about nature. I'm praising nature. I'm talking about the benefits of nature. I'm talking about how important the existence of ecosystem, nature, natural environment is around us, and how much grateful we should be of having trees and plants and greeneries around us. This is what I wrote. What shall we do without you? What a nightmare. Choked I woke up, all the trees were dead, all the seas departed. dead. Without you, darling life lending trees, what shall we do? Life ceases to proceed. Life commits suicide when it feels it lacks you. It can't survive devoid of you, frightened when denied of you, deprived of your way, method, and view. Dear trees and all greeneries, live forever more and ever, for me, for my children, and the generations after. October 27, 2023, VIT India. Poetry is the music of the soul. Do you agree with that? Do you think that poetry is linked, is attached, or is touching our soul? Can our soul, can the unconscious, the realm that we have no awareness about, can it be touched? Can it be understood? Can it be heard? How? They believe that yes, through poetry that is coming from the soul, that is coming from the unconscious, you can get in touch with your within, deep within, with your beyond. So this is it. Poetry is the music of the soul. Poetry comes from a concealed corner of inspiration to take you where? To the realm of creation. We were talking about literature. We were talking about creation. It smooths the path for the definition and visualization of a detailed, elaborate I. Did you know that? Did you know that through poetry, you came to know I? Who am I? I mean, like I just as I, a detailed version of I, elaborate version of I. Not I, but also you. When I'm observing your actions, your emotions, your feelings, the way you talk to me, I mean, in detail, and then I start writing about you, then I'm getting to know you better, right? And then us and whatever around. Why? To reach empowerment, reinforcement, solidification, beautification. You start seeing others as the extensions of you. This is what I assume happens through poetry writing. You don't see yourself as separate and detached, but you see yourself connected and bound in one way or another with other people. Poetry helps you to get integrated with all that exists. This is about the function of poetry, about the benefits of poetry, poetry writing, poetry reading, even performing poetry. Self-worth is enhanced. You become the true heroine of the tales that set on flourishing. Because we were talking even about positive psychology by Seligman, thinking about positivity, changing the direction from positive to negative, even through your writing. And instead of focusing on the negative aspects of any experience or any event or any episodes of your life, you focus on the positive aspects. In poetry, you define and describe yourself beyond time. You travel to the past to rectify the regrets and voyage to the future. Why? To build what you aspire to reach. How? Through the full engagement with the present time. And engagement is one of the words mentioned in positive psychology in PERMA. PERMA, PERMA. E is focusing on engagement. Whatever you're doing at present time, to be fully engaged. By fully engaged, I mean to be totally mindful, full of attention, heedful to what you're doing. Poetry provides an arena for the release of your mind. This is what poetry is about. This is the good point of poetry. We need something. We need some painting, some art to express ourselves, to release our emotions, feelings, ideas, tensions from the burden of intruding unwanted, destructive, and negative thoughts. They are always there, and they are killers. Really, they can kill you because they are so burdensome, right? But this is a healer. When you start writing, you get rid of them. This is a riddance from this intruding thoughts. If the content of poems, if the content is deliberately repeated and practiced, how? In a positive, optimistic, hopeful, and helpful manner. The situation is so bad now. You're experiencing a trauma. You're after a trauma. This is something really annoying, traumatizing. But you try to see some lessons in it. You try to look at it positively, optimistically, and you try to write. This writing, as I said, if it is deliberately repeated, you're just like reflecting some positivity to your mind. Then through some practice, you can see that it's happening. It is realized. It can bring about great promising change. Then you practice altering the scripture, the scripts, the way you have been making your life, the way you have seen the life. You try to modify and rectify it. These modifications, these changes help you. And it is good for the improvement of your health. As you see, whoever we are, the way we feel, everything is basically here in our minds, the thoughts, the controlling, governing thoughts. They're governing you. They decide how you should feel. Because the thoughts affect the emotions. And the emotions, whether positive or negative, they can affect your behavior. By behavior, I mean that sometimes you decide to lock yourself inside your room, you're depressed and you don't want to go out because of the negative emotions. And behind these negative emotions, there should be something in your mind. There are some thoughts, some negative thoughts that won't allow you to flourish, to prosper, to be happy. So we have to be careful about these thoughts. And then again here. So poetry therapy helps individuals gain insights. Why? To do what? To resolve unconscious conflicts. Identification of these conflicts and awareness about their consequences free the need to maintain defensive behaviors such as phobias, obsessive compulsive behaviors, or hysterical complaints and the like. Just a moment. Yes. When thoughts, feelings, and inner turmoil, there is a turmoil inside, a lot of conflicts and clashes, dilemmas, turmoil, they are released by words. And the interaction between the ego and the superego, as Freud said, is transcribed in the language of poetry. So see how poetry can be useful, can be beneficial, can be insightful, pedagogical, educational, and a healer. The psyche is relieved from tensions and pressures. The ego is attentively listening to the needs and desires of the id as it jumps from mind to page. So poetry therapy emerged with its integrative approaches. So it's not just one approach. As I said, integrative approaches on eclectic grounds. Why? To enhance the therapeutic effectiveness. How? By incorporating principles and techniques from different therapeutic orientations. This is about poetry therapy. Maybe we should think about it seriously. Maybe this lecture now can sharpen, can broaden, can deepen your mind, your views, your mindsets about poetry, about the real function of poetry, and maybe you start writing poetry from today. It shouldn't be like observing all the rhythms and meters for the beginning. You just start writing. Writing is good. We call it, even later in other slides I'm going to explain it, so let me just move to the next one. Here, the forerunners in poetry therapy. It's not me talking about poetry therapy. This is not the first time. A lot of people came and then they used poetry in therapies, in real therapies. Like, for example, reading focused poetry therapy. Reading focused poetry therapy. RFPT. Focused emotional writing. FEW. Focused emotional writing. When you start writing about your emotions, then you can label them. Then you identify your emotion, because sometimes we don't know what's wrong with us unless we try to discover and identify and label them. Or RES model by Maza. Maza is a great, I think, researcher in terms of poetry therapy, and his books and his ideas were really great. So RES model, R stands for receptive mode, and E is for expressive mode. Different stages, different modes. You can use poetry just like R, receptive, just reading poetry. But E, by expressive, you write your own poetry. And by P, what do we mean? We mean performing. It could be symbolic. By S, we mean symbolic, ceremonial component. So that's why we call it RES, receptive, expressive, S, symbolic, like performing. And we go to the next one. In poems concerned with unconditional positive regard and acceptance of others' basic faults. So we start writing, but with this idea, with this belief that we accept others' basic flaws and worth as a person. People learn empathy, genuineness, authenticity, and harmony in the course of self-exploration and expression. Every image or word in a poem is a verbalized thought. I want to read that again. Every image, every word, because you know that poetry cannot be very long. Sometimes we have very quick, short poem, but saying a lot through the uses of different devices we have, like for example, metonymy, metaphor. We use just one metaphor to stand for a lot, to stand for a book, to stand for a whole story and anecdote, right? So every image or word in a poem is a verbalized thought. A thought is there. It's a word, yes, but behind this word, there is a story of a thought, how it was formed, and how it is willing to be changed if it is that negative. The urges and hidden impulses are surfaced and analyzed for a more constructive and socially acceptable behavior. This is what I mean, like what I just said is happening through poetry writing and reading. The impulses are surfaced, and then you keep analyzing them. Why? Because you are moving to be toward the path of more constructive and socially acceptable human being, individual with a better behavior. So the ego is set free to accomplish meaningful goals. Poetry is a medium. It provides a space for you to indulge in dreams and fantasies. What dreams and fantasies? The ones rooted in the unconscious. So poetry therapy is an expressive art therapy, art and literature again. Clinical science is there. Necessity of therapy in post-COVID era is at this time of war, violence, uncertainty, and instability. It is committed to awareness raising, to growth, to empowerment, to facilitate global well-being. These are the poetic devices like ambiguity, allusion, assonance, allegory. And poetry therapy hinges on the power of language, literature, lyrics, symbols within the consciousness raising and empowering scope, inclusive of bibliotherapy, narrative therapy, expressive writing, and healing. This is Monzo, as I said, RES. I just explained. Yeah, as I said, we have RES, R is receptive, E is expressive, and S is symbolic component. So I think we don't need to delve down deep inside these graphs, because I want to read you a poem. This is about nature. This is me and my friend in the north of my country. Wow, nature. And nature gives you the peace that you are seeking. What you need, you can find in nature. Nature is so benevolent, so generous in giving. And poems on nature, they are basically focusing on the power, ingenuity, serenity, equilibrium, symmetry, scent, fragrance, music, and the sheer beauty that that is found in nature. And it is undeniably a big part of poetry writing. You see in poetry a talk about nature, praising nature, talking about the benefits of nature, right? So as you hear the drops or showers of rain, music of butterfly, waves hitting the shore, breeze dancing with the leaves, wind shaping and sculpting the clouds, rainbows, bird songs, and crickets noises. So this is the way it is, talking about nature. Even when animals socialize, they mate, they play in games, it's a book. Nature, nature is a book to teach and train us the secrets and rules of life as a pure portal to inner peace. This is the book, this is my book, Soul Seeking Transcendence, and I asked my dear colleague Tiru to take some of the copies, and then I asked him to put them in the library for you as a gift, as my gift to the university. I couldn't come, and millions of apologies. I really couldn't manage it to be there in person. That's why I'm recording this. It's uh, it's the title of the book, Solid Soul Seeking Transcendence. And transcendence is a big part of positive psychology. When you reach transcendence, it's all about peace. And I'm going to read one of the poems. I am going to choose one which is related to nature. Yes, Surgeon of Soreness. When the pain is like a killer, lurking beneath each breath like a murderer, stalking in ambush, the stealthy pursuit of a slayer, ready to knock you down, a butcher, take refuge in nature. The healer, the solver, the soother. Spring is here, the surgeon of soreness and toils of torments, tortures, so tender in design, time for incessant glee, delight, flight, flee. And I wrote it when I was in China. This is a part of our campus at Suzhou University in China, May 7, 2023. And I'm going to read you another one. I love this one. Quiet at the window. What's your name, What's your name, Miss Singer, with a sweet song? What do you sing at dawn? You woke me up. I hear you from trees near and far. Are you a finch, a canary, a dove, a sparrow, or a lark? Or maybe you are a solo on a journey, temporary here like me, riding a boat on the fate sea. Your tonal voice is not sad. My body has turned to ears to listen to the solo band. July 15, 2022, I was in China again, and this one. I traveled to Tibet, and wow, Tibet was awesome, spectacular sceneries. This is the title, No Sign of Me in Lhasa, Tibet, I wrote it. My first moments in Tibet, in the mysterious height of earth, as the sky bends to kiss the earth on her soft face, where conversations of silence indulge those who witness. Lost I am, and there is no sign of me. I am missed in a wonderment, and I don't desire to be back, to be saved, to be found, and be returned. And that's it. This is my last poem. Spring with its pure simplicity winks at the wheels of my once broken bicycle, arranging a secret, sincere date. I smell no stern soul here, or any strict steely maid. Spring sings a sedate, spoonful syrup of dopamine, serotonin, She is a determined doctor, equipped with her surgery tools and rainbow colors. Paramedics join drizzles and breezes to bring sulky souls back to life shores. She will warms frozen hearts after a coarse cold winter at force. She awaits you on the grassy roads, February 21st, 2023. Thank you so much. And this is me, some pictures of me in nature. And this is the Great Wall of China. I took a photo when I was there, but it's not about Wall of China. It's about the mountains, about the scenery, about the sun and beauty of nature. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. I hope that it was a bit informative for you to this time to look at poetry, not just for fun or for amusement or for entertainment, but as a serious method in therapy to heal yourself and to heal others. Have a nice day.